today I am interviewing Freddie Pullen. Now, we found it hard to get a time slot that was going to accommodate everybody because Freddie is in Dubai and the time slot I wanted would have been midnight for him. So very excited to finally get a time slot sorted. And me and Freddie kind of connected more with kind of in business groups. We've kind of like our paths have crossed a little bit with other entrepreneurs, business advisors and everything else. We're in quite a lot of the similar groups. So I reached out to him and says, let's do a pod off. So I was on Freddie's podcast last week and wanted to get him on this one today. So a little bit of brief about Freddie. I'm going to let him introduce himself. He's done a hell of a lot. And I was just saying to him before you came on, I'm like, how old are you? Because seriously, looking at your bio, like you should be like 50. But he's not. 27. You're 27, right, Freddie?
27, yeah.
Yes. So Freddie's background comes from the business management and digital sector, working a lot in e-commerce way back. And now he's the co-founder of multiple businesses, including a new venture that him and his partner is doing right now in Dubai. And that was the big move to Dubai. But reason why I reached out to Freddie is this new business venture that he's got, even though you may think it's not really aligned with what we're doing in business coaching, there's some real valuable insights that he can give us on his background about how we can work more effectively by creating, making our environment work for us and being more productive in our space. So he also has got a leading podcast. I think did you hit number 10 or something a few weeks ago in your podcast?
Yeah, number 3 in the UK, number 2 in Dubai, yeah.
Fabulous. Where he interviews inspiring entrepreneurs, CEOs, guest speakers, an amazing podcast. If you guys have not seen that, I will put a link later in the chat. It's called Into the Desert. So I'm going to let Freddie introduce himself because I might have messed that whole intro up and he'll be able to tell you better about him, what he does. And yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Freddie.
No, you've done a great job, SJ, and it's a pleasure to be here. You got it really spot on there. So, you know, our company now is called Studio New, and it's an interior design business, but in its essence, it's about people. And that's really where I come in. You know, I'm not an interior designer. I'm someone who's always been passionate about people, and I've always studied people through, business at university. I did a master's in economics, and then I went on, as you said, to be a performance analyst for a hospitality company, and then work in the world's leading affiliate marketing company, so e-commerce. And a lot of that, you know, through what I've done is all people based, as we all know business is. And it's been so interesting to then partner with my fiance at the time, you know, now who is an award-winning interior designer in the UK, you know. So what she knows about how design impacts people perfectly meets what I know about people in general. So we both studied psychology. We've done, as I say, business and all through this user testing and, you know, research, which incorporates into our company now. What we really do is what we like to call ultimate luxury. So in the UK, we have the same company. We've now launched it here, but it's holistic design. You know, it's this term that we've coined called the invisible aesthetic. So it's not just about the surrounding that you find yourself in or that you think you like through trends or, you know, what you've seen around. It's what design can do for you. So, you know, if we're talking about someone's home, we might look at how we can reduce stress, how we can increase productivity. If we're looking at an office, we'll look again at productivity, but also well-being. If we're looking at, you know, a spa or a bar, there's always something that the brand wants to achieve. And you can do that through design, and you can make people stay longer because of design, or you can make people, you know, happier and you know, more committed to your brand through design. And I think that is that's really, really interesting. And that's where we've sort of come together on this venture.
Yeah, see, that's fantastic. See, just what you said there about obviously surroundings. So everyone that is part of this group are either working from home, they have salons, they have spas, they may just rent a room in a clinic, but they still have to create the correct environment to be able to, one, effectively work, and two, keep people in there longer. You want people to actually want to be in there, want to stay in there, which then evidently is going to make them spend more money, recommend to more clients. So, you know, where we spoke a lot on the podcast, when you had me on your podcast, was about me and my office space and how I have a separate working environment to treatment environment. But I think it's very interesting that, you know, people need to know about, it's like the client journey. It's like actually being a client for a day. And I remember way back, I used to do this when I had staff. I used to send them on, I used to give them some money and say, right, I want you to book in at a salon and I want you to be a client for the day, and just everything that you like, don't like, how you feel, everything about that place and then people, make notes of it. And then we will look at how you feel when you do the same in here. So walk into my salon doors and do the same, go on that client journey and see what you feel, how that environment dictates how you feel as a person, whether you want to go back. And I think that's really important. People don't look at that when it comes to the surroundings, do they?
No, exactly. And we've done a very similar thing in our business. We, you know, probably at least quarterly do something, we call it an impress test. So we just come together and we'll use something like a whiteboard or whatever and just write down a list of at least 10 things that you're impressed with from other companies. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be your sector. It can be literally anything, like you say there. But things for me, it always comes down to the environment, but also things like the people. So I like to say on a website, a meet the team page. If I go into a shop, I like to be, you know, greeted. I like to be able to walk through freely and not be, you know, stumped and put in a certain direction. IKEA is a good example, right? I like going to IKEA because it's a great place, but actually being funneled through is really frustrating, okay? And I know it's a fantastic marketing funnel. I know they're doing it for a really good reason.
Do you try and break the rules and go back though?
I always go to the cafe first and then go back against the arrows.
Yes.
You've got to do it, exactly. But yeah, it's so true. And we try to implement the impress test into our business. So we'll bring things that we like and put it into our business. And you know, people only take 7 to 10 seconds to make an impression of an environment. So when you come into, you know, if it's a salon we're talking about, or even a home, in that first 7 to 10 seconds, they've made an impression. And that could be whether they're going to spend money with you. It could even be your friends coming over and they're saying, am I going to enjoy my evening with you? Which, if you think about it, it sounds like, I'm not sure if that's true, but if you put yourself in that position and you walk into someone's house and you're like, you brought a bottle of wine, you're ready to go for a dinner, and all the lights are off and it's cold and they're miserable, you've made your mind up already. That is going to be a terrible evening. And I'm sure it's exactly the same in a salon. If the branding's not right, if it's cold, there's so many different factors. And yeah, I think it's so important. Our environment really does dictate our performance. And it's one of those things that we don't audit enough. You know, you could be the architect of your own environment, like you're touching on there with work. You know, we all had to work from home in the last 2 or 3 years, or most people did. And lots of people didn't construct a conducive work environment from home. They just thought, you know, it's going to be 6 weeks, 10 weeks, a year. I can sit on the sofa. And actually, it doesn't work. You're less productive. It's going to hurt you ergonomically. You know, everyone's now suffering from slightly more arched shoulders. It's in a similar way that we hold our phone too much and we get the funny lump on our little finger. Same thing, right? You've got to think about how you're being affected by your environment, because it's so powerful and we just don't think about it.
Yeah. See, I like that about you said the what do you call it? The impress test. Is that what you said?
Impress test, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So just basically going into a new environment and actually writing down the parts that impress you, which then can be then taken obviously into your business. You know, if you like the fact that you got a nice welcoming, you wasn't funneled down a certain route, it was warm, the door didn't make a big clunking loud sound. See, it's just little things like that. And I remember obviously we're members of the Tears of Freedom program the same, and I remember I think in one of the things that Jason did, it was on about like when you actually do walk into a coffee shop, it might have the best coffee in the world, but if you have to really force the door open, it clungs and bangs and then everyone turns round, you've straight away made that first impression that, oh shit, I don't like it in here.
Exactly. And that's also true of your own home, isn't it? So, you know, if you come into a home, we had it in the UK, we used to have a sort of a property business as well. So we'd have a property, we'd renovate it, we'd use the interior design skills that we learn, add value, move on. But we'd always live in the same property at the same time. And it would be very obvious after a while of this sort of journey you were on through the renovation process. You could see the stress building as, you know, things would be moved. So you'd have a door in the wrong place, or there'd be, dust somewhere where someone's working with something in the corner, and it impacts you massively. You can obviously dull that down into a house that's not being renovated, because it can always be stressful renovating, but it can be mitigated. If you just think about your own home, is there a corner that you often bump into? Or is there like a piece of carpet on the stairs that's coming off a little bit and you trip over? There's always 2 or 3 things in a home or a property or, you know, a workspace that just niggle on people. And that over time will have a massive impact on you. And we can see that through the design persona or your design DNA. And something we're working on now is a quiz where you can take 40 questions and we'll define your design persona. So what design style do you like? Because most people go, you know, I like Scandi minimalism. That's kind of what I like because it de-stresses me. Or they go, I like traditional, mid-century, whatever they like. But do they actually like it? Do we actually like things? It's kind of a bigger question, right? Do we actually like things, or is there a reason why something's come into our mind and we go, that's something that I associate with? And so we're trying to build this quiz out where you can do these 40 questions and we'll then tell you at the end which design style we think you are, which you might have answered questions you think were towards a different one, and we give you an opposite one. And then from that, we'll then give you a report of which one you are and why. And then also some of the things that person design style, if you've chosen that one, what they can benefit from within their well-being. So for example, going back to, you know, Scandi minimalism, I'm not a massive minimalist, but I like to have things, less is more for me. I prefer simplistic living. And, you know, mine might say, you know, you are minimalist, or you are a Scandinavian style is your persona. And because of that, we know that people tend to maybe they get stressed more easily, or they like things in a certain way, you know. I'm not OCD, but you could say, assume.
It's like OCD, yeah.
Exactly. And then we could say, right, well, going into the well-being space, you know, we have partners with, you know, PTs, with life coaches, with psychologists, with wellness groups and spas here. And we can say, actually, looking at everything there and talking to these experts, someone who likes Scandinavian style, they might actually benefit from A, B, and C, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea of the quiz, where we go from what do you think you like to what we actually think you should have, and then what then goes with it as an extension of what we're trying to achieve, which is this ultimate luxury holistic design, which goes from where you are now to improving your overall lifestyle through your environment.
Fantastic. I bet that's taking a lot of putting together.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I think it's really powerful.
It'll be very powerful. But just as you were saying that, I bet that was an idea that came to you, thought, right, this will be good. And then as you've started, you're thinking, wow, there's a lot of layers to this.
It's going to take time. Yeah. It's, to be fair, it's nearly done. I'd love to have said you can go and do it now, but maybe next week. It is very close.
We'll post it. Send me a message and I'll post it in the group for people to have a look. So most importantly, how in your, obviously this is your set, this is what you do, you and your partner, and obviously your background in people and development. Why do we need to make sure our environment that we work in is set out certain ways for ourselves? What is it going to achieve?
So our work environment, you know, if you're talking about an office or a salon or even a work from home office, it needs to be conducive to what you're trying to achieve. So one of the first things we always say, and I'm sure you say it's a very similar thing, is look at your vision, your mission, your values. If you look at that and then think back to your working environment and try and make it link together, right? So we're trying to overall improve productivity, also employee wellness, or, you know, if you're on your own at home, your own wellness. And we're trying to make what you do your overall mission. And so if we can incorporate things like an ergonomic setup, the right amount of natural light, you know, a proper working station. So for example, I'm at a standing desk because literally in the last 2 months, I've realized that I'm much better when I stand. If I'm doing, you know, creative stuff or work, I'm way better. I never knew that in my life. Is making these incremental changes. So one of the best things we say to people is just do an audit. Just do an audit of your environment, whether it's at work, whether it's in the home, wherever you are working. Audit the things that you think you need and go through them and just get rid of them. Get rid of some of the things. You haven't got to bin them. Take them away until you realize how much less stress you have on you. Yeah. I used to have a desk, you know, in these corporate offices where you'd have pictures and you'd have trinkets. It was like a thing, to make it very
Yeah,
personal.
you make it you want it a little bit like your home, don't you? Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas now I just have a clean desk. I have a clean desk, a computer, screen, and that's it. And I think it makes you less distracted as well. I can always go into the next room or, turn to my side or whatever and see pictures of people if I want to put them there. But for me, the environment is also around the sound, the heat, the focus you can achieve. And the first thing to do is an audit. What don't you need? Take it away. Find a space where you can be quiet if you like that. The thing is, it's all so subjective, isn't it? So I prefer it to be a bit quieter. I know that, my partner would prefer it to be louder. She likes music on, like quite loud music.
I like it quiet. Well, this is one of the main things I've got on my desk. I have to have my music when I'm working.
Oh, really? So you have quiet music?
Yeah, I have some chill out music when I'm working. Yeah, that goes everywhere with me.
So even that, we could say, what type of music do you listen to though? Is it always the same? Or what kind of music do you have?
It's always the same. It's always the same. It's always like chill out mix. Sometimes I'll put on like soul hits, or if I'm having one of those days where I'm doing a real big task, I have motivational empowerment speeches, which basically is just men shouting at me, telling me to get my shit done, really. So it's like, you can do it, and all that kind of stuff. So it depends what kind of day, but when I'm working away and I know what I'm doing, it's soul hits, chill out. If I need a bit of motivation, I've got like Rocky Balboa and Arnold Schwarzenegger talking to me.
Exactly. Perfect. So the other thing we could add to that list of how to make a work environment better is, for me, I like a view, or I like natural light. So I'll always put my desk to side on from a window, or whatever we have, a window or a door. I wouldn't put it straight at the window because I'll be distracted. I know I will, and the lighting is too much, right? But here, for example, I can look out and I can see palm trees and banana trees and grass, which is what we wanted when we found the desert a bit too much. And not everyone has a view, but what that actually is just inspiration, right? Or it's part of your passion. So I love going, hiking. I love forest, being connected to nature. That's fair enough. So you can do that inside the property or wherever you are, the office. I'm just going through all these different options. So you can bring, we know we can bring nature in. So there's certain types of plants that are going to benefit your productivity, but actually, plants and especially water are really powerful in just focusing us, calming us. There's a big trend at the minute here, certainly around biohacking, which is that whole idea of trying to hack your biology to make you better at something. So it's just about either grounding yourself, where you go out and you put your feet on the actual earth every day, or, meditation, or purified water, these kind of things that are supposed to make you feel a bit more focused. And it's a fairly big thing here, and I'm sure in other places. It's worth researching and seeing what works for you, I think, when you're trying to become more productive or whatever your end goal is. I think it's worth having a look.
Everything that you're saying on what we need to do, evidently, is to create more focus, more clarity, more productivity, and to continue to kind of reaching those goals that we're aiming for. If you have got your work environment set out, you've got your office station set out, you have got, like you said, obviously if it's an office station, quite minimal, but you have got that natural daylight coming in. You've got a bit of the, now I will say, even though I'm in Doncaster, I have got a little, it's kind of like a palm tree. It's probably not a palm tree like in Dubai palm tree, but it is, I have got something like that just there.
Nice.
It's a yucca. It looks the same. But to have all of that is to improve focus, clarity, productivity, and to remain consistent with what we're doing. And I think a lot of people have, it's really difficult because, like, when we say we have distractions, okay, we distract ourselves. We find it so we might have a phone nearby, or a mucky house over there that needs doing. That's not what distracts us. We distract ourselves because we find something hard, we move away from what we're doing and then distract ourselves. So, but if you can try and eliminate and reduce and create that space, then you are making it so much easier for you not to distract yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things you can do, working from home, is if you've got the space, try and separate your working space from your living space. It's harder said than done.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got a spare room and that's where you work, that's far better than if you're working in your own bedroom or your living room or kitchen. And it might be less comfortable. You might have to invest in the desk to go in there because downstairs you might have the table or the coffee table wherever you work. But it's so beneficial for your mind to be able to, at the end of the day, close that door and lock off work.
Yes.
Because actually what's happened during COVID and working from home is that, I know there's the phase of quiet quitting where we do exactly the amount of work we're paid for, and that's a big thing. But actually what companies have found is that they actually got more out of people during COVID because people didn't have that finish time and the end time. They didn't have that commute, so they log on a bit earlier. They didn't really have a strong finish time because no one got up and walked out the office. So they worked a bit longer after. You didn't really have a lunch break. Maybe you went and put the washing on the line.
Yeah.
But overall, you got more time out of someone. So yeah, the working environment from home is really tough. But there are some really small things you can do to improve it. And it just starts by having an audit, a think, and looking at what you want more out of it. So like I said, your posture, your wellness, mindfulness, whatever it is, have a thing to start with, and then start making changes. Implement everything. Just make a change.
Yeah. See, I said this to you with the last year. I have gone through stages when I haven't had a separate place to work, and it has been on the dining room table. It has been on the settee on my lap. And at the time, that was all I could do. There was no other option for me. But when I look back at how much work I got through and how further on I am now by having a separate area to then, it's a massive difference. And this is what I want to encourage people that are listening. A lot of people that follow me are at the stage in their industry where they're wanting to create a more scalable business. They do the time for money exchange and they now want to work on their business by creating online assets or, whatever it may be, but getting their craft online somehow. So they have to do a lot of work on their computer. There has to be some office time. And a lot of these people are still bringing that office work into their treatment, into their treatment room. And I say this in all my coaching, you need a separate space. You need to know that this is now business development, my long-term goals. This is what I'm doing right now. That is my bread and butter, my treatments, my time for exchange. And I think that's really important in our industry to have that separation.
Certainly. I mean, it's working on the business versus in the business. It's a very different mindset, isn't it, as you're explaining there? But also, I think when you're talking about when you're working in the business, so if you're actually going into your treatment room, as you're talking about people there who are starting their businesses or they're trying to scale up, even just having the knowledge around how an environment is going to impact your client will set you apart. There's not that many industries where people are really well versed in the impact the environment they're coming into is having on them. And I think your industry is one where it's quite important. It's really important. It can set you apart from other things they could spend their money on if they wanted to. Just being able to explain, why you've got that certain light on, why the temperature's at this level. These kind of things, I think, are quite powerful when someone's coming to, what is effectively something that's supposed to benefit their wellness, right? That's what they're coming to you for. So to be able to, convey that, I think, is super powerful.
Yeah, exactly. They need to do that client journey. People need to do a client journey, pretend they're the client for the day and walk in and feel and embrace and capture everything in there and see how that makes them feel. And do it in other places. Like I said, when I did it way back, go to other places, go on a little bit of a stalk and pick up what made them feel so good when they went into the places. So there's so much value that you add into this, because obviously I was more thinking that this would go down the route of kind of like your office environment, but it's mammoth how the environment dictates our performance and obviously how it's going to encourage our clients to be coming back and recommending. And that's what it is to create that environment to build really good, profitable, scalable businesses.
Absolutely. And just to hark back to, the companies I worked for before we started our own thing, a lot of what we would do is user testing. So in the first company where I was a performance analyst, they were having, thousands and thousands of customers coming into over 200 premises across the southwest and London every day. It's a lot of people you can survey. But that was nothing compared to the second company, the affiliate marketing company, the largest affiliate marketing company in the world. And we had 500 million users a month onto websites. And one of the things that I've learned, from all my studies, but actually more so working in these places, is that you can never understand what someone's going to do until you watch them. Because you can, it's a bit like business, right? You can sharpen what you're thinking in your mind, but you have to do it in the market, really. And it's the same thing. You've got to learn by doing something or by watching something, because humans are different. They're all going to do something slightly different. So you've got to take the mean of what's happening, and that's when you can make your changes. If you're talking about a branded environment or a salon, that kind of thing, watch the people, like you said. I think it's really, really, it sounds obvious, but people don't do it. People don't want to do that. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, they just get stuck in the job, stuck in the rat race, and don't just take time to step back and just take it in. So Freddie, so obviously we're only in February. What is you moved to Dubai when? Was it 6 months or so ago? You made a big move.
Yeah, 6 months. September. End of August, September.
Did you have the business set up already there, or did you just think, fuck it, let's go and start again?
Yeah, so we had the business. We had Studio New in the UK. But what happened was last May, me and my partner, we lived outside Bath in the southwest, and we got into quite a nasty car crash. A car just came around the corner, wrong side of the road on these country roads, and hit us head on. And it was quite a nasty incident. We were really lucky that we had really minimal injuries, nothing life changing, just a lot of work to get over, the terror that we saw. And in the time that we had just recovering, physio and that kind of stuff, we decided that had been our catalyst to make a change. And many people have these catalysts, but usually they're a bit later in life where they say, I'm going to change now, because that was something that I should have, I shouldn't have walked away from that, or I should have had some sort of changes. There were so many factors that could have gone wrong. Like we could have had our dog in the car. We could have been 1 meter further to the left and hit a tree. There's so many things not worth going into or thinking about, but that was our catalyst. And in those 2 weeks after, when we really just were at home, just sort of recovering, we decided that we were going to move countries. We'd done a bit of traveling in between uni, and we had family in Dubai. We've got friends in different places. So we talked to a lot of them. But in those 2 weeks, we decided we were going to come here. So we're going to set the business up here. We could see that the market was obviously beneficial for us. It's a nice place to come. It's obviously, the climate is obviously quite nice. And then in the next 2 or 3 months, we sold the house, we sold the car, the one that hadn't been crashed, the other one. We sold everything. We literally moved, we literally got rid of everything, booked the flights one way, and we came to Dubai. And it was a risk. It's obviously a risk. You've got to take risks in your life. But the business was already set up in the UK. It's the same business here, but it's just angled slightly differently. Because here you have to put your face out there a bit more. No, people don't buy from brands here. They want to buy from a face. So even things like, the big corporates here, they have more of a face than you would be used to back home.
Really interesting.
Yeah, so you've got to shake a lot more hands. You've got to do a lot more networking. But ultimately here was good for us, because what we like, and I've spoken about before, is improving people's performance or people's well-being. And here there's a massive trend, as we often think of Dubai, of just doing what gives us the most status, or the most what is the most trendworthy thing. How can I spend my money in a way that's going to give me the most bravado? And actually, that is massively changing. They've got some really big goals, as a country, the UAE, to become sustainable in the next 15 years, to do all sorts of things. And one of them is to really take away the whole issue around human rights, which they used to have. And so I think we're here at a really good time. We're hitting pain points with people that, we obviously did our market research, but it's even more so than we thought. So people are stressed here. They are, they're overworked, they're tired. And actually, interestingly, a lot of them are uninspired. So we spoke to hundreds of people. We surveyed hundreds of people, expats, and we found that 70 to 71% were not inspired by their own home here. Right? It's a very transient place. People are earning more than the average. They could make these changes, but they're not. They're spending it on other things that we don't know. Probably clothes, material things, but they can change their environment to benefit them going forward. So it's been really interesting in the last 6 months to really land on our feet here and just speak to as many people as possible, make some really good connections and do some really cool things, which is what led me to the podcast, to try and just meet more people and bring inspiration to our business. One of the things we're really big on is if you're going to change your environment and you're going to, entrust us with the process, we can give you advice on the well-being things you can do after as well through our partnerships. But one of the things we want you to do is feel inspired. And one of the best ways I've always felt inspired is by listening to people who've been there and done it. They've been on the journey that you want to go on, and they can explain it now from a place of experience. And that's where the podcast came from. So it's been a bit of a busy 6 months, but we've really enjoyed it so far. It's a cool place.
So it's really interesting with what you're saying about the research that you've been doing there about obviously people have got the money, but they're not spending it on the things that you're technically selling. But what's really interesting is you've kind of set out these goals. It's going to take you longer to get for your business to be exactly where you want it to be in the future. You've only been there 6 months, but you are putting in all this time and effort, networking, researching, developing the brand, developing the new concept, doing all of that by focusing still on these long-term goals. And I think that's really admirable because, you could be here and probably sell smaller jobs, do your smaller contracts, get all these renovations and stuff planned. But there's a completely different market of people that it's going to take you time to nurture these people, get them to shift the mindset, get them to understand how important it is to actually have an environment that works for them. But you're still focused on these long-term goals, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was given to us as a piece of advice by some mentors was just, if you can run a small business, like it was 2 years ago, and you could say it started again here, you had to build it up again because no one knows Studio New from the UK. We can bring our credentials here, but ultimately you have to start again effectively. And what someone said to us was, if you can run a small business as if it was a large business, or as if it was where you wanted to be in 10 years, you'll set yourself up for an easier ride because you come across as someone who knows what's going on. And that's, I haven't started a business before really that's had any success than these couple, but I've had corporate experience, a lot of corporate experience where we've bought and sold businesses and we've worked with millions of people. We've had these changes. And so what I've done is we've brought that analysis and that learning into what is, a moderately sized business. And like you say, it's just it's angling it slightly differently. In Dubai, we have a lot of competition in terms of design. So you have just sort of renovation companies where they'll come in really cheaply and they can redesign based on what you've said, but it will be done to, it's not going to be the greatest quality. It's just they're going to do what you tell them to. They might paint the walls, whatever you want. You then have interior decorators. So that's people who have no formal qualifications, but they can do a decent job. They're going to make it look nice based on the trends and the latest things going on. You then have a gap where it goes up to sort of branded things. So you can get design companies who will just come and brand your bar, which are really cool. They work with high budgets. And of course, you've got like massive luxury companies that will do things like the new Atlantis on the Palm, like ridiculous, massive projects, hundreds of millions of pounds. So we're sitting ourselves really nicely below them, honestly.
Yeah.
But above the decorators, above the decorators, and above the people who have got moderate credibility, because we've obviously had more success. We've been on more featured in more places and that kind of thing. And that's really nice because we can then exploit that. We can talk to more people. You don't have to prove just through our design. We can prove it through the other assets that we have brought to the table. For example, the quiz, like we said, we've got the podcast, we've got free tools on our website, and the content obviously on socials is invaluable to people. And that's what we've done, really positioned ourselves in a slightly different way, which is going down really nicely, which is obviously reassuring.
The thing is, you've just said it there, and this is like, I don't care what business anybody's in, but it's about giving value, knowledge, and treating every single client like they're your only client. That's it. Like me going live and doing this in the group, me creating the podcast, me creating all these snippets in social media and these free ebooks you can download. There's no money exchange for that. That is not how we work. we are creating so much value and knowledge and education and all these extra tools which make our business, you know, get to where it needs to be. And this is the same when, you know, when I talk to the beauty entrepreneurs that are trying to get more clients, you know, you need to nurture and look after every single client, even if they're coming for an eyebrow wax every month and spend 10 quid. If you really give them so much value, love, care, follow-up emails, touch base with them, connect on social media, they will spend more money and they will recommend. People are so quick to just get the next lot in, and forget about the people that have given them something. And yeah, I preach that all the time. And it really, really grates me when I see people on social media. I need more clients. I'm like, what about your existing clients? Have you reached out? Have you connected? Have you give them more value? Have you gone live in Facebook groups? Have you created anything for them? No. And it's like, you know, and it's the same with any business, you know, like what you've just said there, everything that you're giving out to set yourself where you want to be above these big dogs, you know, up here above, you know, above everything that you're doing to put yourself there, you're giving that extra value, knowledge, tools, like you said, the quiz, podcast, and that is what's going to get you, that's what's going to make you sit there.
Totally, I totally agree. And, you know, it's not, I think it's really easy to either go after the next buck, like you said, or, you know, when you try and network or give your social media, immediately want gratification. You're like, I've given something for free. I want either a thank you, I want a like, often, that kind of stuff. So an example for me is when we first came to Dubai, I just went networking all the time. We stayed with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and I tried to wear the same thing when I go to networking events, so people recognize, oh, that's the guy who does this. So like a grey blazer, black and white striped shirt.
Oh, so it's nothing like too crazy, like a bright yellow suit or something.
No, exactly, like a high vis with like my sign on. Yeah, exactly. So I would go to the networking. It would be, you know, 6:30 in the morning, or then you have all different ones all day. Come back at 10 at night. Up at 6:30, so I would never see them. I'd just pass them in the night as I was coming down in the morning, whatever. And one of the first ones I went to in the first couple of weeks of being here was Dubai Business Breakfast downtown. I had to drive half an hour, you know, 6 in the morning, and I had to do a talk on the business, like a 10-minute talk on what we were doing, what we were here to do, you know, our mission. And I met someone there. He was like, "Oh, I've got a contact who will help you in the future." And I thought nothing of it. I thought, you know, it's quite early days. I'll take a referral. But I thought it was going to be business, is my point. And from that, she's introduced me to 3 or 4 people, including really influential PR people who want to help us for free. So they like the mission. They want to be involved in a journey, which is going somewhere, because we've been able to convey that. And even more on from this, so 6 months later, they contacted me on Friday asking me to go on TV next week with this lady. Right, so I'm going on Dubai Today, which is like the one show of Dubai, so every single night for an hour. And so my point is the power of not always looking for money, but looking for opportunity. And actually sometimes just be nice and it will just come, you know, it will come maybe 6 months down the line. And that would be marketing for me. I'm not looking for a sale from that. I'm looking for what's the next opportunity, what's the next podcast, what's the next program or radio show you can go on and just get the word out there. Because, you know, if your mission is something that people, you know, resonate with, and it's something that they want, which we've already proven, it will come. You know, it's just about nurturing those relationships, like you say.
Of course it is. Not focusing on the quick wins and focus on the bigger picture. And that's it. And that is it. So want to touch on your podcast. So I've listened to a few of them, 2 or 3. Apart from me, obviously, who's been someone that you've really enjoyed interviewing?
Oh, they've been brilliant. So if you don't know Sebastian Bates, he's a brilliant serial entrepreneur. Jason Grayson's obviously been on there. They've got a business together, which they touch on. That was a really cool one. They just have great stories.
Yeah.
It's a story of, you know, you have to listen to it. But his story of coming back and being resilient.
I've also interviewed Seb and Jason. You know, but they're the 2 I've listened to. They're the 2 I've listened to. So,
they're really good. I've also there's a couple of life coaches on there, which are really quite powerful. This week I've done 4 or 5 recordings this week, and we've got a guy in Dubai he's from the UK, but he's been here 30 years. He's known as the Rebel Networker or the Millionaire Networker. You can't go on LinkedIn here without seeing Mutual Connection, Phil Bedford.
Oh,
and he
wow,
was really interesting because he talked about the power of relationship building and how you should learn to network. People think I'm going networking, I've just got to talk, give up my business card and something will happen, but it's not how it works. And he was really cool. I really liked him. He's a great person. And also this week I had Raj Katecha, who is one of the biggest names in content creation and strategy. He does the content strategies for, celebrities, for massive companies. He brought Gary Vee to the UK. He was that connection that brought him across.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
He's got some incredible connections. So his company is really nice. It's called Creative Content Agency, and that's what they do, high-level content strategy. But he's an interesting character because, he had a lot to give. He was the longest podcast. He had so much value to give, and he was super interesting, really good backstory, and some really good nuggets in there on content, which I think, a lot of us, when you start businesses, you have to become media savvy. You have to become like a media company first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had some good tips that I hadn't thought about before, which, is good. I'm glad. He obviously is the king of content, he's known as, and he had some great insights. So yeah, they've all been really, really good, but those are some standouts.
Fabulous. So your podcast name, so people can find you.
Yeah, the podcast is called Into the Desert. So literally what we did. So, make a change for the best, into the desert, take on all the challenges, be resilient, and find inspiration, hopefully. So it's been out for only a month or so. It went to, like I said, number 2 in Dubai, number 3 in the UK, and top 5 in like another 5 or 10 countries. It's had a really good launch.
Awesome. So what is on the cards the rest of the year then? You've got 10 months left, nearly 11 months left. So what is 2023 got planned for you?
So for us, we just want to take the business forward, right? I want to do a lot more talking. I want to do more of these podcasts. This is like a fantastic forum. It's something that you and I obviously resonate. And this is what I want to do: get on podcasts and talking events where we're on the same line. And I think that is something that is sometimes it's harder said than done. Finding someone who's actually aligned to you, because it comes across like they do, and then it changes. So more talking, a lot on networking. That's what I'm really passionate about. Meeting people. And we want to just take the company somewhere where value is given out a lot. We want to give out more stuff for free. We want to be able to give people things that they can implement straight away. I want to take the podcast even higher. I want to get some bigger guests on there. I want to keep up with my sort of content strategy. And along the way, we'll hopefully visit the UK, have a few friends come over here, and see where we go.
Yes, well, definitely. If you come to the UK, we can definitely meet up. Yes,
definitely, yeah.
Talking and networking. So that's my goal as well. Just I've did a guest. I was a guest speaker at an event a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely loved it. I was in my element. So I've approached colleges. I've been invited to speak at another one, and I'm just like, this is just. I need that stage. I need to talk. I need to share. So yeah, that's definitely.
It went really well. It looked like a brilliant audience.
Yeah, it was good. And it was a nice small audience as well, But the one that I've got in a couple of weeks is actually at a college. So I'm not sure about the whole language thing, because I do swear a bit when I get really passionate. Because they'll ask me questions and they're like, oh, I'm just not confident to do Facebook Lives. And I'm just like, get over your fucking self or whatever. So I get a bit excited. But even though the college, the 18 plus, it's college. So I think because I'm kind of in the full-on educational sector, I think I need to hold my tongue a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think talking is so cool. I'd love to get on like a TEDx conference, that kind of thing, like a 10-minute slot. That would be cool. And I'd love to start a book. I really want to start writing a book, or maybe turn my undergrad dissertation, which is about, how the environment impacts staff retention. I'd love to turn that into a book. I think. Just start doing that kind of thing where just putting your thoughts down on paper.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. So any books? What are your top books you like to read? Have you got any recent books or all-time favorite book that you think for business growth, life development?
So the one for life development, I was trying to look at some books I could recommend, and I just can't go past this one in case someone hasn't read it. Atomic Habits by James Clear.
I'm writing.
Have you read it?
No.
Oh, it's good. So Atomic Habits is really interesting. So it was between that one and the one about sleep, but actually this one's more relevant. You can implement better. So it's just about almost being 1% better every day by doing small things. So for example, getting up like 10 minutes earlier, and putting your clothes out the night before. Just small things like that. But obviously a habit is discipline over motivation. And, if you do that over a year, you'll be unrecognizable. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting book, just to take a note of what you're doing now, how you could change it, but just take it slow, make these changes, learn about why you're doing certain things. That's a great book. And then the other one to do with business is 24 Assets by Daniel Priestley. I've only recently listened to this on Audible, and I had a massive list on the whiteboard over my shoulder of just the 24 assets, which ones we need to do now, because obviously some of them are for huge businesses looking to exit, and how I can do them and do them well. And that's really cool.
Have you done this one yet?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Great book.
I actually met Daniel Priestley, but didn't realize it was him at the time. Didn't get a photo or chat or anything. I know.
Where did I say that?
You were chatting with Jason. He was like, and obviously I'd connected with him a little bit, and he saw this is Daniel Priestley. Oh, hi, you all right? And then I went to the toilet. I was like, I went out, and then I did go back and says like, I was reading your book on the way here, and then then I got a little bit starstruck, and then had a bit too much wine, so I just felt like I wasn't enough to have a conversation. But yeah, so I've actually met him. But yeah, I love that book. So inspirational quotes. You asked me this on your podcast. So any best advice you've ever been given, or the worst advice? Any kind of quotes that we can leave with?
So this quote, I'm actually going to reuse a quote that I heard this week because it just took me by surprise. It was a fantastic quote. Apparently it's an old African quote. I've done some research on it. It's an old African quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Like it.
I quite like that. I think that's really quite powerful, because you see a lot of people in business who they're fierce. They have their mind on one thing, which is usually money. It's usually not a bigger mission than that. And they're on their own, or they have a very, very small team, and they are just cutthroat. And you can get to a certain point there, and then you're going to face, friction. And so I like the idea, like you said earlier. Yeah, exactly. Go together. Build a team to start with. You don't, obviously, until you're making money, you don't need a big team, but just small things like the Atomic Habits that can make you better all the time. If you want to go far, go together. I really like that one.
Yeah. And thing is, like, a lot of people, you said about building a team, going together, and it's not just about employing people, like I have a team around me. I don't employ nobody, but I delegate certain parts of the business. I connect with people like yourself. I'm in business group platforms. I'm in help groups. I reach out and connect with all these people. So I feel like I have a team of people with me, but I've not employed anybody. So, when we say go together, it doesn't mean that you have to get a big business, employ loads of people and do it all together. It just means surround yourself with the people that can actually take you further.
I completely agree. And knowing what you're good and bad at as well.
Yeah.
It's so easy, like you said earlier, that you try and do everything as a company, but actually it's a lot more efficient just to let someone help you with the things you're not good at, or things that you shouldn't be doing because your time is worth more than that. Like we touched on before we started recording as well. I think it's really important.
Yeah, you've got a business will never be able to scale up as big as you want it if you do not learn how to delegate, and actually how to delegate the tasks that either one, don't excite you, two, don't inspire you, or three, they can do it far cheaper than what you can for your, we were just saying about, what you're paying to sort out these social media posts. There's just no point. There's people try and do it all. And I think that's a real big thing in the beauty industry. And I don't know whether it's because the beauty industry attracts very confident, passionate women who think they can do it all. And I used to be like that. I used to be like that many years ago. I'm like, no, I can do best. It's me. But you've got to learn to let go of some stuff, and you've got to learn to delegate, because your business will never scale up. It really won't.
Exactly. And we're tying it all back together quite nicely now, aren't we? This whole chat. But when we spoke earlier about, running a small business as if it's a big business where you want to go, that you can start that by the delegation part, right? So delegation ultimately always comes back to you. So if something gets done wrong and you delegated it, that was your fault because you communicated it badly. So why not run it like a big business and create a way, or a way to delegate that is professional and it covers all the bases, right? Like the 24 assets that we just spoke about. If you're going to do brand guidelines and ask someone to do your social media posts or cut up your podcast, give them a document once, which tells them exactly which font you use, what color, what subtitle size you use, everything, all your logos, because it can never be wrong then. And that's, I think, is a really important tip that we've certainly used to just run the business how we want it to be, not how we think it should be right now.
Yeah. See, I do that all with all my like this video that we're doing now. I spoke to Freddie before. This is going to be YouTube snippets and a podcast. I download this, send it to my video woman. She's actually in London. She's got everything. She's got the font. She's got the background music, absolutely everything. And she gets it done in about an hour. And she charged about 20. That's it. That, you know, for me to actually just even download it and get an MP3 version, I upload it then to my podcast because I have the text and stuff. But yeah, she does it all. And she even does like the little timestamps on YouTube with the little, she does all that in an hour. It's done. I know. Why would I even try? That'd take me days. That'd be a week's job for me. So, right. Okay. We're almost at an hour. Right. I'm going to say, Freddie, stay on. I'm going to say thank you very much, Freddie, for joining me. Don't forget to find his podcast, Into the Desert.
Correct, yeah.
Into the Desert, yes. Don't forget to look out for his podcast. Some really amazing interviews. I've watched a couple of them, but some really great interviews. And he is part of the Facebook group as well. So if you've got any questions about what we've discussed today, then he'll be happy to answer them. And hopefully you can share your little questionnaire thing you're working on with the group as well. That'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll keep connected. So thank you guys for watching. And Freddie, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you.